Thanos, Spider-Man, Guts, Black Panther. These are our 4 options between...
There are also like 3 votes for My Hero Academia characters.
Okay. So, MHA.
Yeah.
And then if this one gets chosen, then
we can choose a character.
We'll go down from there. So we've got 5 things here. Eliminate the ones you guys don't want to see.
Okay, we got 1 vote for Thanos. Okay, so we got 1 person who says they don't want to see My Hero Academia.
Okay.
1 person says they don't want to see Black Panther.
Okay.
I guess we'll do multiple votes here. 1 person says that 2 more votes against Thanos.
Okay, Thanos is out, guys.
Whoop! That's gone. All right, so
Spider-Man, Guts, Black Panther,
MHA. What do you not want to see? Guts.
Okay.
1. Black Panther again. Another vote against MHA. Okay, so MHA is gone.
All right, so between these 2,
now it's different.
Spider-Man and Guts.
Who do you want to see?
Who do you want to see more?
We have 1 vote for Guts.
Okay, so that's a yes.
Another vote for Guts.
How many people are in there?
10.
10, okay.
Another vote for Guts.
Okay, we got okay, it's moving.
Okay, guys, if Guts gets 6 votes, another vote for Guts. Okay. Guys, I'm gonna so I'm actually psychic. Guts is gonna win. Vote for Spider-Man.
Okay.
All right, come on now. Let's we got 5 votes up on the board. 2 more for Spider-Man. Oh wow.
Oh, it's close.
Another vote for Spider-Man. It is now tied.
Oh, it is now tied. We are 4-4 with Spider-Man and Guts. Is this young Spider-Man? Is it,
Miles Morales?
Mid-20s Spider-Man? Who knows?
It could be
anyone.
anyone.
We're not sure.
Star Binary says yes. Star is excited. Matthias changed his vote to Guts, so actually Spider-Man loses a vote.
That is the end, guys. So Guts is a...
Which Guts? Pre-Eclipse, right? He has 2 hands and less magic.
Okay.
That's what Star asks.
Okay. So,
Duffy doesn't know Guts, WTF.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know this...
I'm sorry.
Duffy is relatively new to anime in general. Okay? He just recently watched Dragon Ball for the first time in his entire life.
Like, literally from start to finish. Also, Mario says with alternating caps, all caps and no caps, did you just assume my gender?
Guts is a character from the manga and anime Berserk, who is who was taken as a young child and kind of like thrown into war. It's not a happy story. Nothing good happens in it ever. It's just full of murder, rape, and destruction. What we're going to be doing is we're going to focus on building a program to get you that massive, ridiculous strength that Guts has. And not so much a program as just a single workout. So right now we have a couple of options. The things that Guts is known for would be massive strength. And particularly in his ability to wield a sword. And that's because as a young boy, Guts had to use a normal-sized sword in battle. So, because they weren't going to make him a little kid's sword, he still had to fight, so he had to use a big person's sword. So he always got accustomed to using an oversized sword. Well, as he got older, he just moved his sword sword size up at the same time. So as an adult, he's wielding a massive, massive sword, but he's doing so at the speed that you would normally move a normal sword. So he's ridiculously dangerous, and he's able to swing that sword so hard that he can just cut through people's armors, cut through swords, all kinds of stuff, because he's so freaking strong and the sword is so heavy. And he's also known for tenacity. So he's got the ability to push through pain and to go. He's got a lot of endurance. So that's another thing that you'd see in Guts' ability to do stuff. And then can anybody else give me a character, like a physical character trait that you associate with, since I've given 2, a physical character trait that you associate with Guts that you would like to see trained?
Leo says that he is also known for his rage.
He's known for rage. Okay, all right. So we can see how we can maybe do something with that. Anything else? What do you?
Durability.
Okay, durability.
Enzyme.
I'm gonna put that with tenacity.
Bravery has to be there as a general attribute. He does
Okay.
have skill, so finer motor control.
Bravery, finer, motor.
Because of how he's able to use the sword.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Technique.
I mean technical skill. That's
there we
in
go.
here. We'll probably just call that technical skill. So here's the thing that you run into with a real anime training workout. Do you do something that encompasses all of this, and therefore you end up not working on any one thing too much, or do you cover up most of these or all but one of them and work solely on one of those things? Because what happens when you have training is that whatever session that you have for training, so if you want to work on strength, you're better off just having strength movements in a session rather than having all of this other stuff in here that's going to detract energy and focus from that. Because working on speed, technical skill, and like tenacity and endurance stuff, I'm going to be super tired, so I'm not going to have the same physical ability to touch my upper levels of strength for that workout. So I can't. What I'll be doing at that point is kind of working on general conditioning and the ability to move when I'm tired rather than one particular skill that I'm trying to increase. You'd have to consider, what does Guts feel as a character is more important? Would he say that technique or strength is more important? Which one would Guts say is more important out of those?
Everyone's saying strength. We got
Strength, exactly.
Easy.
So, because strength is more important to Guts, that would be the first thing that you would work on in a program. So you would go strength first, and then after the strength was done, then you'd work on technique. Because it has to do with what in a program or in a session, you always want to work on the thing that is most important to you first, because then you're fresh, you're focused, and you have the most energy to be able to put into it. Because if I do technique first, if I spend an hour on technique, I've already used muscular energy and ability to be able to do those technical skills. So even if I'm not super tired, I've still used muscular energy that's going to limit my ability to access my maximal strength. Does that make sense?
Star says, if you want to learn the motor skills, being less tired would make more sense for motor learning and max strength. You do not have to care as much about the small things.
Okay, that I get where you're going with that, but in either one, it depends on what you are preferring to do. So if technique is more important to you, yeah, you want to be able to work on fine motor skills first and then move into strength. But if strength is more important to you, you can work on that. You can work on that first, have the strength session, spend 30, 40 minutes doing a strength movement, and then you can focus on one or two technical abilities that maybe didn't necessarily work in that same muscle group, or even if they did work in that same muscle group, what you're essentially training yourself right here is to still be able to have technique when you're tired. So if we start with strength, we'll figure that out first. We have to figure out what gut strength, primary strength is. If you were to say, think about gut strength, and what movements he's most strong in, what comes to mind right off the bat? What comes to mind when you think about the ability for gut strength? It's obviously not like bench press, because you don't ever see him necessarily do that. But when you think about Guts being strong, what comes to your mind?
Swings.
Yes, swings. The ability for him to be able to pick that freaking sword up and swing it like that. Anything else?
Definitely has to have some sort of carrying and straight arm holding.
Yeah.
That's from Star. Strong core from Mario System 4.
Definitely. So we would say, so the things that if we're going to go in that direction, we'd say core, abs, not the same thing. Core, abs, shoulders, and then also being able to go for long distances carrying things on the battlefield, because you don't just get to stand around. You have to actually go to the battlefield carrying that giant sword. let me take some thoughts here. I'm not going to erase that yet. Let me take some thoughts from you guys. What do you think would be good movements to include for these? So for myself, what I would typically say, you'd want to have some sort of front raise right off the bat, because when he's, moving the sword like this, you just want some sort of front raise, but you'd also want a side raise.
Rohan says overhead press.
Okay, so we say overhead press.
Slow weighted barbell swings. Handstands.
Barbell swings.
Matthias says wood chops on a cable machine.
Wood chops, that's good.
Sledgehammering.
Sledgehammer.
Thus says Swan. Mario also says sledgehammer swings, so people get that.
Okay, so, alright, so these are actually good. So, I mean, obviously I put these two in here just as like an idea of where to go in that direction. Overhead press is a solid shoulder and arm exercise. But it's not necessarily related to the sword swinging, because it is, this pattern here, which is directly over the shoulder like this. And while you might have a little bit of that in that moment of bringing the arms up, that is more of a front raise. And these movements would be most similar to the sword swing. And so because they're most similar, they're going to translate easier to that sword swing, since we're talking about building strength. And so wood chops are nice because they actually have that chop ability for you to be able to put something into, and you don't have to worry about smashing, something with the sledgehammer. But the sledgehammer itself can weigh more. So the axe is only going to weigh so much. Sledgehammers, I've seen them make sledgehammers that weigh like 100 pounds. Now, mind you, those things are like crazy, like really expensive and made for like, working with giant earth moving equipment. So you're not likely to find those. So most times you might find one of this 20 to 25 pound sledgehammer. And that weight is all the way at the end. And especially if it's a long handled sledgehammer, this is going to feel super, super heavy.
Star throws this in. Plate circuits for the shoulders would make sense too. For getting a mace ball.
Okay, yeah. So if you had it like a mace ball, yeah, like the handle with the ball at the end that weighs a certain amount, that would be fantastic too. Like a giant Indian club, if you've ever seen an Indian club, where they do movements where they hold it out like this and then they bring it around the body like that. That would be a good option too. So, but what we want to do here is we want to try to get away from as much specialized equipment as possible, because of who this is. Okay? This is somebody who grew up on a battlefield without access to special equipment. So what can we do that makes this as similar as possible without need of specialized equipment? So that's the question that we need here. So as much as I love so this barbell swing thing, I've put that before on the Gohan Z-Sword workout. So you get a very, very, very small barbell, hold it at one end, and then slowly move with that. That's an option here, but the sledgehammer is going to be most similar to something that Guts would actually have, potentially have access to. So either one of these would work. So I'm not going to begrudge you if you didn't have a barbell so you could use a sledgehammer. Either one of those would work. So I think probably using those in tandem, or one or the other during the workout, would be perfectly acceptable. All right, so let's move on from that, because we just want a couple of that. So we go sledgehammer, barbell, swings. Okay, and so the barbell is really just there because it's sort of similar looking to the how a sword would operate. And when you grab it, you don't want to try to grab it from the thick portion of the barbell on the bottom. You want to grab above that, just because holding on to that.
They can't see your hands, right?
Holding on to the larger thick portion of that is not going to really be feasible. So you want to hold to the smaller portion of the bar. And the closer you hold to the center of the bar, the less it's going to feel like it weighs. But this is probably the easier version of this. So we want to go with the sledgehammer and the barbell swing, and then we want to pick one more exercise from here to try to use. So any thoughts on that for shoulders and arms?
While we wait for an answer here, just want to let you know that we got at least one person here asking if we could make this a regular thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. In fact, I have an idea that I want to throw out to you right now.
Yeah.
What if after we make this, we ask them to send us video of them doing these exercises, and we do a community-made video?
Imaginary sledgehammer. Okay, so what we would be doing here is you're down here and you have this position, and then come back. Elbows are tucked in, they're not wide. Elbows are tucked in, and then swing down. And mind you, this is just a controlled motion because you are trying to build the strength in all of these muscles. Because if you try to use something fast that you cannot control slowly, that is a recipe for injury. So that is when you see people that try to do kipping pull-ups, or they try to do box jumps, or they try to do explosive movements that they don't have the ability to control at a slow pace, they end up hurting themselves a lot more than if they just did the slow pace. So this is strength building. Power comes later, and power is actually, you know, because one of the things that you'll see Guts do in the manga is he's got his normal sword, and the sucker tied logs to the outside of it, and he's just swinging the sword. Because later he wants his sword to be able to feel like it's not very heavy. So in that same way, if you're using something that's very heavy, you're not going to swing it in the exact same way as far as speed is concerned that you would swing your normal sword. Okay, so we have essentially created a real anime training workout from start to finish. We came up with a character, we had a concept, we had a goal, we made the workout, we chose each exercise individually, and then we organized those exercises based according to the goal that we wanted to accomplish. And then after we did that, we figured out all of the rep scheme and how we wanted to do all of that stuff. And then so at that point, all you really have to do is figure out what equipment that you need or what notes that you need to write related to that workout, and then you make the video. And that is a real anime training workout from start to finish in concept. If you guys really enjoyed that, we may do this again because this was actually a lot of fun.